In this video, you're going to see how to perform a query on a list of criteria items in the Python feature of Excel. Keep in mind that Python is currently only available to Excel 365 users with the Insiders version. In our first example, we'll create a query based on a list of criteria within our code. In the second example, we'll perform a query on a list of criteria values from a range of cells on our spreadsheet. On our first sheet, we have a data set of product inventory items for a grocery store. The second field, called Product Description, contains a text description of each product. We'll query from a list of criteria values off of this description field. One important thing to remember when working in Excel Python is that your field headers cannot contain spaces, so use underscores in place of spaces. In a cell to the right, input equals and the letters PY and hit Tab to create a Python input cell. This is where our code will live. Next, we'll type the acronym DF, short for data frame. We'll set this data frame equal to our dataset in columns B through E. All the values of the dataset are stored in this data frame. Next, we'll come down on a new line and create a second data frame called MyList. This will hold our list of criteria items we want to query on. We begin with an opening bracket, followed by each criteria value. Each item needs to be enclosed in single quotes with a comma between each value. End the list with a closing bracket. Next, we'll come down on a new line and create a new result data frame called output. Here we'll reference our first data frame, followed by an opening bracket. Then we'll reference the data frame again, followed by another opening bracket. Inside this bracket, we'll reference our product description field header enclosed in single quotes. Add a closing bracket at the end of the field name, followed by a period. Next, we'll use the isIn function. Inside the parentheses, we'll reference the MyList data frame. This will return every row from our original data frame where the product description field matches our list criteria. Don't forget to add a closing bracket on the end. Hit Ctrl+Enter to input the code. If you only see the word data frame, go up to the left of the formula bar, click on the drop-down list and select Excel value. We now have our results that pulled back the 3 product description matches from our criteria list. You may have noticed a column on the left that does not appear to belong there. These are default index numbers that appear in Python. We'll modify our code to remove this column. At the end of our last line, we'll add the reset index function. In parentheses, we'll add the keyword drop and set it equal to true. The index column is no longer there. In our next example, we have a range criteria list that we'll link our Python code to. Click on the input cell and hit F2 to go back into the code. We'll add a new data frame called criteria range that will hold the values from the criteria list on our spreadsheet. Next, we need to convert the C-range data frame to what Python would see as a list. We'll set it equal to the C-range data frame we just created and reference the field header name inside a set of brackets. The name must also be enclosed in single quotes. After that, we use the toList function to convert our C-range data frame to a list so it can be referenced in our final line of code. Since we kept the original name of this data frame, MyList, no further action is needed. All that's left to do is to input the code with Ctrl+Enter. We now have our results linked to our range criteria list. We can change our criteria list values and the output will adjust. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.